What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. I'm your host, CEO Haize, okay, aka just Haize, whatever. You found yourself on the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's Chicago Bulls Central. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the latest update with Alex Caruso, an interview Ayo Dosunmu had with Sam Smith, the Bulls versus Memphis coming up today, and also we'll be going into the mailbag. All that and some more right after this. All right, so first, just to address some things. I know I did not drop an episode yesterday. Honestly, listen, I just took a day off, man. I just took a day. I know it's rare for me, right? I'm usually so consistent lately with dropping something every single day, but I needed a day to myself, man. But we're back today with some Bulls news. And first up, Alex Caruso has been cleared from NBA health and safety protocol. Now, he still will miss tonight's game due to, they're listing it as return to competition reconditioning. Take what you mean there. But we had a hilarious tweet from Alex Caruso after it was announced that he was coming back. The whole "we outside" tweet that he had, just great. Good. It's going to be good to have Alex Caruso back, not just because of his personality and what he brings defensively, but just getting this whole team back healthy as soon as possible so we can get back to having probably a really good stretch before the All-Star break and then really come out of that All-Star break killing it. I don't know if Derrick Jones Jr. and Javonte Green are going to be back by the All-Star break. Now, Javonte should be, if that his time frame should put him back a little bit before the All-Star break. But with Derrick Jones Jr., it may not be. We may not see him maybe a game or two before the All-Star break if they want to try to get him some repetitions in. But it's very possible we may not see him until after the All-Star break. But overall with that, it's good to have Alex Caruso back. I'm glad he cleared health and safety. Seems like the foot thing isn't really an issue, so to say, anymore. They just do want to get him conditioned, probably get him some practices just to make sure to see how his foot responds to being back. But overall, it's going to be great to have AC Fresh back in the building and the White Mamba and all those monikers. It's going to be really good to have him back because we've missed him. You can tell from this team. They've missed him while Ayo has stepped in big time for this team in his absence and really being that defensive presence off the bench. It's just going to be good to have Ayo back and kind of, make everyone get back to playing a little bit more towards what we're going to need from them towards the end of the season. Let me know what you guys think about having AC Fresh back. At least in practice so far. Probably see him in a game like it was originally announced now to the Wednesday game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's get into first Ayo Dosunmu. Second, Ayo Dosunmu. First off, it's his birthday. Happy 22nd birthday to Ayo Dosunmu. But I'm going to speak specifically from this quote that he had in an interview with Sam Smith. I'm going to read this directly. Coach Donovan said we weren't playing hard enough, so I wanted to go out there and play as hard as I can. That's the type of player I am. I try to do whatever I can to follow through on his request. Now, again, it's easy for players to say quotes, but when you see the game and you see in the ways in which he played in that game and the effort he gave guarding Tatum and everything like that, he back first action showed it first, and then the words came, and that's important to see with Ayo. Ayo, like I keep saying, Ayo's potential is through the roof right now. I would really rank his potential up there with just about anyone drafted in the top 10 in the league, and some people would even probably put him higher than that. Ayo Dosunmu's just been great for us in so many areas, and when his shooting's going too, when his scoring's going, it really makes him so much more of a dangerous player. We already know what his defense brings and how intense he can be on the defensive end of the basketball, but really having Ayo just on this team is it's so refreshing to have a draft pick drafted in the second round that is paying us dividends right away. For Bulls fans, especially longtime Bulls fans, we have seen draft pick after draft pick not really pan out during the GarPax era. It's good to have somebody and to see that this team saw something in this kid that is really blossoming, probably earlier than they even expected. And to see how that continues to develop on this team is going to be huge. And when you have a front office that can get quality picks in that second round and lower, it really does make it easier to see that they're going to continue to have this team contend as long as possible because they make smart decisions. And that goes back to why I always say that we need to trust this front office, not get upset if they don't make a trade for people we think they should make trades for, and really just trust in the vision because we finally have a front office that has vision and we're seeing it pay off. I know we're in the midst of a 3-game losing stretch, and I know a lot of Bulls fans have, broken glass in case of emergency. But with all that being said, this front office has done a great job, and it's great to have a player like Ayo really be representative of that every day out there on the court for us. So let's go ahead and let's get into the next topic, which is the Bulls versus Memphis. Now, we're going to have Levine, Lonzo, Caruso, Green, Cook, and Derrick Jones Jr. all out this game. So basically the same lineup that we had against Boston is what we're going to have tonight. And so, well, today. It's not tonight. It's a 2:30 tip-off game here on the in the Eastern time zone. But with that being said, the Bulls are going to have to give that same effort. As long as, like, first of all, the Bulls are going to have to give that effort even when everybody gets back healthy. That is that type of effort, that type of grit, that type of determination, that type of fighting through screens, pushing people off the three-point line, that type of defense, even when you don't have some of your best defenders out there. That is the way that this Bulls team needs to play every game of the season, not just when people are out, and that's going to make us so hard to beat. Now, with that being said, we're going to definitely have to see that tonight. Ja Morant is on a stretch right now of playing at an all-star or world level in many ways. And, you know, Ja Morant is going to come in. He's going to be licking his chops. I can't wait to see Ayo guard Ja Morant. I've said that in the live stream after the last game. I just can't wait to see that just for, like, purposes of Bulls fandom, just generally. Like, we know Ja Morant is a better player than Ayo Dosunmu, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be exciting to see that matchup and what they do. We're going to have DeMar step up. If we can get good DeMar throughout this whole game, it really ups our chances. Of course, Vooch is going to have to be locked in. Vooch gave us a great effort in the last game as well. We're going to have to get that from Vooch. And then outside of that, we're going to have to get big contributions from Ayo, Kobe White, if we can from McKinney, if he can score a little bit more effectively, things like that. Off the bench, what Troy Brown Jr. gives us defensively, I really like the minutes that Troy Brown Jr. has played. Yes, he still makes some mistakes. He still takes some shots that are just like, wow. But again, when you look at like some of the matchups and lineups he's out there with, somebody has to take shots, and he was the one that was trying to do that. But, you know, Troy Brown Jr. is really, whether it's to up his trade value, just to try to gain more of a role on this team with his grit defensively, that's what we need from Troy Brown Jr. And it's good to see him stepping up here more so recently. He played some big minutes and stretches for us in that 9-game winning streak. And then, you know, even with us losing lately, he's really been helping us there as well. So what Troy Brown Jr. gives us is going to be key as well. Now, somebody that I didn't expect or didn't even know what to think of, and that was Malcolm Hill in the last game. Malcolm Hill gave us some key possessions and rotations defensively as well. And I'm really going to be looking to see what Malcolm Hill can continue to do and can contribute to give to this team, because it's really, you know, when you have a roster that's as depleted as ours, it's really important when you can get contributions from players you don't necessarily expect them to. And Malcolm Hill really did give us that. And then let's get to the person that, you know, you never know what you're going to get, and that's Tony Bradley Jr. Now, Tony Bradley, I really don't listen. I've been very vocal on my fact that I think Cook should be getting his minutes if they're both healthy. And I haven't really seen anything that's really changed my mind to that. Like, yes, Bradley put in a great first half for us in the last game. And I don't want to understate that. As much as I do talk about my dislike for Bradley overall, I have to also acknowledge when he does good for us. And in that last game, specifically in that first half, Bradley gave us defense. He gave us running the floor on offense. He in transition, things like that. Got some easy buckets that way. And if Tony Bradley can turn that into a more consistent thing. Now, again, that's not all that's determined on him as far as getting in transition and things like that, but his personal effort, if he continues to give effort and focus and tries to limit those butterfingers that he has sometimes, he can be a factor in almost any game for us. Now, we know what he can do defensively when he's on, but we need to see more of that, of him being on, because he had a pretty, like I said, pretty good first half, quite quiet second half. But again, like I said before with Malcolm Hill, when you have players that play outside of the way they normally do, especially when you're depleted and in tough games, it really changes the outlook of games. I'm really expecting the Bulls on national TV again, TNT tonight, on the Martin Luther King game. You want to see your players all play with that same grit and determination. That's going to be the key thing that I'm continuing looking out for. Win or lose, I want to see that continued effort from this team, because that is what you can build on. Those give you building blocks, and then as you get better players back, it really, like, that confidence that's built from that really can make us go on another winning streak, or just, you know, be a better team. And that's what I want to see. That's what I'm sure Coach Donovan is preaching to them as well, especially when you think about that Ayo quote. That's what we need to see from this team tonight. Let me know down below, who do you think can be an X factor? And by X factor, we know the contributions we need from Ayo and Kobe. I mean, outside of those players, one of the bench players, or somebody like Alfonso McKinney, who do you think can step up in a big way for the Bulls tonight? And then overall, who do you think is going to have the best game tonight? Do you think it's going to be Vooch? You think it's going to be DeMar? Think it's going to be Kobe? It could be any one of them. Hell, it could be Ayo, who had a great game in last games as well. But we need to see an effort from our team that really is representative of them wanting to win and wanting to be in these games. And as long as I see the effort, that's what's going to be key right now. While we have so many players out, of course I want to win, right? We want, and I think the Bulls showed against Boston. They have enough to win some of these games when they play the way that they do, and have that grit. And it really reminds me of some of those early Bulls era teams when it was like Kirk Heinrich and Ben Gordon, when they won games they had no business winning because, hey, they just outworked the other teams. And that's what I want to see this team do, is try to outwork the Memphis Grizzlies. It may not be successful, but I want to see them outwork the team and really be putting in a lot of effort. Last, let's go into the mailbag today. So first, we have a email from Lokich Deckers. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. But this first one is, here, the guy from Belgium from the live stream yesterday. I just saw that the Mavs have waived Willie Cauley-Stein. I think he's a perfect fit for the Bulls. 7 foot, can rebound, scores points in the paint, and brings a lot of energy. And he can protect the rim. I think he is somebody who is going to help us a lot if we can get him. Now, so this is what I'm going to say on Willie Cauley-Stein. I want to just, he hasn't played basketball, I think, since November. He's been out since personal reasons. Now, maybe that was because he wanted to get off the Mavs. Maybe he has some mental health things going on. So, first of all, he has to be willing and ready to come back to basketball. And especially now that he's been cut, they have to pay him all his money if he clears waivers. So maybe he may be less motivated to come back to the sport of basketball right now, considering he's been out for personal reasons. Now, let's say the personal reason aspect is eliminated from it. I absolutely would love to take a look at Willie Cauley-Stein. I know I'm not really talking about deals right now, but when you look at like the things that he can bring a lot of what we want to get from Tony Bradley, but you almost trust him to bring it more consistently. The one thing that he doesn't bring, though, that I've always said that I want the Bulls to do, is somebody who can knock down open shots, right? And really, you don't expect Willie Cauley-Stein to take any mid-range shots, and definitely not any even the corner 3 shots. But with that being said, taking those things away, those are just my personal ones. Looking at what he brings from the rebound standpoint, from the shot blocking standpoint, and from somebody who at least can get putbacks, and especially if he's going on the offensive boards hard and going for those boards hard, he can get 8 points a game almost easily, because we really don't offensively rebound very well. So if he can bring that aspect to the Bulls team, then hey, yeah, he could feast that way. Willie Cauley-Stein is not a player that I would mind the Bulls looking at all. I would not mind them if it comes down to it at the end of Hill's 10-day contract or something like that, they decide to bring in Willie Cauley-Stein. I wouldn't be mad at it. But at the end of the day, I think that thing of him being out for personal reasons since November is the biggest thing that's the concern to me there, because that tells me that maybe it was something other than basketball of why he wasn't playing. Well, I mean, it's in there. It's personal reasons. So if those personal reasons are eliminated, then yeah, I'd absolutely love the team to take a look at Willie Cauley-Stein for sure. Let's get into the next text. This one's from Joe. Hey, love the channel, man. Just a thought. Caruso is possibly the MVP of this team. His focus, intensity, resiliency, and IQ are sorely missed. Our team has steadily decreased in those areas since he's been out, and now at an all-time low. Just look at the Lakers without him. I'm very interested how we look when he comes back. Listen, we all know, I think we've acknowledged what Caruso brings to this team, especially when you look at, we brought in 2 veterans, right? 2 veterans that have been playoff tested. Now, DeMar hasn't made it over the hump to get into the finals, right? But then we brought Alex Caruso, somebody who played and has finals and championship level experience. So yeah, missing that is going to hurt the team, especially when you have a fairly young bench outside of him and a bench that hasn't gone on playoff runs. So yes, it's definitely missed. And I definitely think he steadied, especially when you had players that maybe got a little nervous, maybe weren't used to the moment. He was that steady hand that probably calmed everyone down. And yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call him the MVP of the team, but I definitely think he is definitely a key part and a key piece in why the bench was playing so good even when we weren't scoring. Think about it. When this bench was not scoring well, when we were 29th in the league in bench scoring, but we were still playing solidly from the bench, right? Especially defensively. It may not have been scoring well, but we were getting those defensive. That was because of from Caruso. And then also look at Caruso's ability to come in the starting lineup, Caruso's ability to guard 1 through 4. All of those things that Caruso brings are going to be sorely missed, especially on a team that wants to make a long run on the playoffs. So yes, missing Caruso for as long as we've been missing him, it is missed. But the thing that I do say that has come, that's been good out of this, is that Ayo's gotten more battle tested. Kobe's gotten more battle tested, right? They both had to play minutes that they normally wouldn't have gotten the player had to play just because of having Caruso out there playing roles more than minutes. And then also the resurgence of Troy Brown Jr. Now, he may be completely back out of the rotation when everyone comes back healthy, but the fact that Troy Brown Jr. was almost given a chance to really show how he and blossom defensively like he has for us the last few games, because Alex Caruso was gone and because we were missing, of course, a lot of other players other than Alex Caruso. But, those type of things may help us in the long run, when we get into those, we need to call on somebody that usually doesn't play. But overall, yes, you definitely want Caruso on this team more than you don't because of everything that he brings to this team, and he's definitely a key factor in what we can and will do in the future in Alex Caruso. Let's get into the last one today. This is a voicemail from our standard. That is Shay, and he brings this.
What's up, Haize? This is Shay. I'm watching the Bulls post game, and Kendall Gill and Will Produce said the exact same thing that I've been saying since the season started. We need to feed the offense through Vucevic. We're so much better when we play inside out as opposed to playing outside in. So I think we need to feed him until we can't feed him in the post anymore. And I feel like that will make us win a whole lot of games a lot more smoother and easier. Let's think about it. We have something that a lot of teams in this NBA don't have, and that's size at the big man position, the big man that can score inside the paint. And we need to really use him a lot more instead of just like letting him shoot the three. And now, don't get me wrong, he can make the three, but he's a big man that can shoot, not a shooting big man. Anyway, tell me what you think.
All right, so playing through Vooch. Here's the thing, and here's my thought on that. Is that playing, yes, but the thing is that what we've seen with Vooch is that he almost has to get his three-point going for everything else to be working in some instances. Like, yes, especially when the game slows down and you have to get into half-court defense, those half-court sets, right, and you're not in transition or something like that, Vooch's post game is going to be hugely important. I'm honestly surprised that we don't see it more than what we do. Now, we go to Vooch usually early in the post and we kind of move away from it. He becomes more of a perimeter player to mid-range at that point. But yeah, I would definitely like to see, and I think we're going to see more of that. Even when people who are calling for seeing Lonzo run more of the offense, I really do think that Coach Billy Donovan is going to add those things in the offense as we get closer to the playoffs, because I think that that's going to make us more dangerous. We already know one of the things that make this team so dangerous on the offensive side is the different ways that we can run. When you look at it, we have the roster to run. We have the roster to play half-court sets. We have the roster to play down low. We have the roster to play inside out. We have the roster to rain down threes when we need to with Zach and Kobe and Lonzo out there. We have a roster that can do almost everything. We need to see it consistently. But the key part of that is ball movement, is being more freedom with that, not the ISO ball. And let's even move away from just talking about the ISO ball. Like I've said in the last one, sometimes the guys just aren't moving without the ball. And then we'll say, oh, it's DeMar playing hero ISO ball. But when you look at like everything else around it, players just are kind of at certain times are almost watching DeMar or watching Zach, and they stop moving, right? We need to get back to that where everyone is moving. Everyone is coming off screens. Everyone is always, when you move all the time and move the ball around, you're going to eventually get an open shot. So, yeah, we need to see that. Now, as far as just the playing through Vooch thing, I don't know if that's going to be a thing every game, in and out, but it is definitely an aspect that can make our defense and our team way more dangerous, and then I would like to see more. Let me know what you guys think down below about that. But that's it. That's my time for today. I know a little bit of a longer episode today for me, but that's it. Like I like to end everything on, make sure you're following the podcast at Bull Central. You can send us an email, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 773-270-2799. That's it. Like I like to end everything on, go Bulls. I love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.